All right, this is Block 6, the Great Depression, Section 5 after the 100 days with the Roosevelt Recession section. Roosevelt, the Great Depression slows down but does not end during Roosevelt's tenure. And if we drew it as kind of a graph, that unemployment, just as one example, was really high and it slowly dropped under Roosevelt and then rose again in 1937. And this came to be known as the Roosevelt Recession. That the economy, which had been slowly working its way out of the Depression, took another dive. And unemployment went back up, gross domestic product fell, people started losing their jobs, businesses started closing again. And there were two main economic arguments, kind of what had happened. The first was that all of Roosevelt's, this is the laissez-faire classical view, was that all of Roosevelt's meddling and new programs and taxes had stunted economic growth. But there was a new economic theory out there, and it's known as Keynesianism, after British economist John Maynard Keynes. John Keynes is one of the most, he is one of two of the most John Keynes is one of the two most important 20th century economists. And him and his prime competitor, although they were not contemporaries, fundamentally disagreed on the nature of modern economics. Keynes invents a theory that comes to be known as Keynesianism, which makes sense, in which what he says is for a country to grow out of an economic recession or depression, what the government must stimulate the economy. That government must spend money for an economy to recover. And it does not matter, Keynes says, it has no bearing whatever if the government has this money to spend when it starts spending it, or if it must borrow. Keynesianism and economic stimulation are what are known as deficit spending. This is the fundamental nature of the theory. Maura, come over here. We're going to use Maura as a wonderful example. Didn't know she was getting involved in this when she just came in right now. Maura, if you were unemployed, making no income, what economic activity could you partake in? Could you buy any food?
No.
Could you buy new clothes?
No.
Buy a new car?
No.
No. Maura here agrees that if she was unemployed with no income, that she could not partake in economic activity. Now, I think we're going to assume now that an economy does better when Maura buys food, buys clothes, buys a car, buys a house. When Maura is buying stuff, the economy does better. Because when Maura goes to the shoe store and buys shoes, the shoe salesman has a job, the shoe manufacturer has a job, the truck driver who brings the shoes to the shoe store has a job. Maura spending money is good for an economy. But Maura has no money. And if Maura has no money, the shoe salesman has no money, and then he's unemployed. And if I had someone else standing here, I would stand them next to Maura, but Maura unfortunately is by herself. Keynes says what government must do is give Maura money. Here you go, Maura. Money. And then what will Maura do with this money?
Spend it.
Spend it. Maura will go to the supermarket. She will go to the food store. She will go to the shoe store. She will go to buy a new car. Maura will take the money that the government gives her, and that money will stimulate the economy. Thank you. That's known as the multiplier effect. If I give Maura $1, and then Maura gives that $1 to the shoe salesman, that shoe salesman is going to take that dollar, he's going to do something with it. And the guy he gives it to is going to do something with it. This is John Maynard Keynes. Deficit spending, stimulus spending, the multiplier effect of a government hand. And even if the government is giving Maura a dollar bill that it doesn't have, and it's borrowing money to do it, it doesn't matter. That the only thing that can create, because Keynes says Economic problems create more economic problems. Like we showed, Maura has no money, that means she can't spend any money. That means businesses who produce goods and services can't sell any goods and services. They go out of business, creating more unemployment, and so on and so forth until you get the Great Depression. What Keynes says is government must start throwing piles of money at people in order for them to spend piles of money to re-stimulate the economy. So this is our other basic theory of what happened with the Roosevelt Recession and the New Deal in general. Not that it was not spending enough, or not that it was spending too much, but the Keynesian argument, which gets associated with progressivism, that Keynes's argument is that the government is not spending enough money, that it should be giving out more money to people who will then go spend it and stimulate the economy, and the economy will grow, and when the economy grows, tax receipts go up and you can pay off the debt. That's John Maynard Keynes. Roosevelt, who, as we saw at the beginning of the block, really didn't believe in anything that strongly, is restrained by the American history of balanced budgets, that as much as the New Deal cost, it does not break the bank. And when the economy did, when the economy did start to recover a little bit and unemployment was going down, there was a cutting of certain government programs. The Keynesians say, you cut government programs and you get more unemployment. You get a worsening economy. That's what, and the Keynesians are going to get a boost in their argument from the fact that what does eventually pull the United States out of the Depression is World War II, when the government went and spent more money than it had ever dreamed of spending in a million, billion, jillion years. I want to take this time also to differentiate between monetary and fiscal policy. There's two types of economic policy. There's monetary policy and there's fiscal policy. Monetary policy is the policy about the nation's money. All right, so Keynes is a monetary, Keynes is a fiscal economist. He thinks that there should be a fiscal solution to the problem. All right, so let's go through these real quick. Monetary policy is money supply, interest rates. Fiscal policy is taxing and spending. Okay? In the United States today, the Federal Reserve takes care of monetary policy. How many dollars there are, what the general interest rate is, etc. While Congress and the President take care of fiscal policy. What the tax rate's going to be, how much we're going to spend, how much we're going to borrow, all those sorts of things. Keynes says economic recovery will come through fiscal means. It will come through fiscal stimulus. All right? That if we decide to spend lots of money, that's fiscal policy, spend lots of money, give it to people so they can stimulate the economy, that will help the country. His chief rival, who we will see in block 11. His chief rival is a guy named Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman says, no. The only way that you can really bring an economy back is through the intelligent use of monetary policy. We'll see that, in the spring. All right, so John Maynard Keynes is a person, President Obama is a Keynesian. That it's one of the two major economic theories of the entire 20th century. And it's very, very important that you know it's an intelligent-sounding thing to put in an essay. What Roosevelt's advisors, what his progressive advisors wanted him to do was stimulate the economy through deficit spending, and that's known as Keynesianism. And this becomes the economic orthodoxy of the United States until the 1980s. All right, and this idea runs, if you will, American economic policy. John Maynard Keynes, and fiscal stimulus, the multiplier effect, all those fun things like that.